Hi friends, I hope everyone is fine with your family members. Today we will discuss the second unit of PEIC subject, that is engineering ethics, and is important and easy to understand. It carries 25 marks. We'll discuss 9 important questions and answers of this unit. So we'll start with the first question. First question, explain the profession, professional and professionalism. As you know the definition of profession, so profession is the job or the occupation requires skill and knowledge, self-regulation, and it requires good service to the public. And due to the profession, the high status is achieved socially and economically. Next is professional. So professional means when a person does the work or when he is in profession, he requires skill and knowledge, and that results in the public good. And professionalism means it is the practice of strict adherence to the honest, polite behavior and responsibility when he is or she is dealing with the working environments. Professionalism is the status of professional, and it implies it has certain attitudes or qualities which are essential for the professional. So this is an important one. Define profession, professional, professionalism. Next question. Define moral dilemma and give the example and what are the steps in confronting moral dilemma. So this is the second important question. So the situation usually arises in the practice of engineering. So some situations in which the applications of moral values, they will become very problem, and it is not possible to choose one to find the situations to the problem known as dilemma. Means moral dilemma means situations in which moral values becomes a problem. How to apply the moral values, that itself will become the problem, and it is not possible to choose those due to the situations, that is known as dilemma. Example here, that is a promised person promised to meet his friend for a dinner, and what happens? He has to help his uncle who is involved in an accident. So now he has to fix the priority. This is what the dilemma situation arises. So in such cases, how to solve the moral dilemma? That is steps to solve the moral dilemma. So some around 6 different steps are there. We'll see one by one. First one, identification of moral factors and reasons. That is, first identify the relevant moral values from duties and rights, goods and obligations. Second one, collect all the information, data and the facts related to the situation. Then third one, that is rank the moral options, that is allot the priority through the value system which are acceptable and not acceptable. Then fourth point, generate alternative courses of action to solve dilemma. And then further you can discuss with your colleagues, friends if you need, and get their opinion, get their suggestions on various alternatives. And then finally decide upon the final course of action, and if there is no ideal solution, we arrive at partially satisfying solution. So these are 6 different steps you should follow to solve the moral dilemma. Define moral dilemma and what are the steps to solve or steps to confronting moral dilemma. Important question answer. Next, third one. Define moral autonomy and what are the different skills related to moral autonomy. So moral autonomy, it can be defined as decisions and the actions are implemented on the basis of moral concern for other people and recognition of good moral reasons. Means here decisions and actions are to be implemented, adopted on the basis of moral concern. So that is moral autonomy we are saying. And then comes engineering skills related to moral autonomy. What are the engineering skills are required for the moral autonomy means here first one proficiency in recognizing the moral problems in the engineering and ability to distinguish as well as relate them to the problems in the economics and religion. And next one, that is skill in understanding and clarifying a critically arised arguments on different aspects of moral issues. Next point, ability to form consistent and comprehensive viewpoints based on the facts. Next point, awareness at alternative response to the issues and solutions for critical solutions for practical difficulties. Next point, sensitive to genuine difficulties, willingness and understands. Next, tolerate some uncertainty while making decisions. Last one, using rational dialogues in resolving moral conflicts. This is what the moral dilemma, moral autonomy, engineering skills required for moral autonomy and the definition of moral autonomy. Next question, that is what is enquiry? What is enquiry? Explain the different types of enquiry. So enquiry means it is the process to solve the ethical problems. Enquiry is nothing but it is the process of solving the ethical problems. So how many types are there in the enquiry means 3 different types are there. First one normative enquiry, conceptual enquiry and descriptive enquiry. So first one normative enquiry. So, normative inquiry, it is to identify and justify the moral norms and standards which should guide the individuals and groups. So, normative questions, usually they are desirable to be and what is good based on the moral values. So, example for normative questions, they are how far it does the obligations of engineering to protect the public safety extend in any situation, or when if ever should engineering be expected to blow whistle on the dangerous practices of their own employees. Third question, whose values are to be primary in making judgment about acceptable risk in the design for a public transport system or nuclear plant? Next, when and why is the government justified in interfering with the organizations? What are the reasons on which the engineering shows their obligations to their employers or clients or the public? So these are some of the questions, normative questions. Example, Next, second inquiry comes, that is conceptual inquiry. So conceptual inquiry, they contains the concepts, ideas, principles that are expressed by the words or by the questions or by the statements. So examples here, what is meant by safety? Direct questions will be there. How it is related to risk? What is bribe? What is a profession? This all comes under conceptual inquiry. Third one, that is factual or descriptive inquiry. So it is aimed to get needed for understanding and resolving the values, issues, etc. Example here he has given factual or descriptive inquiry. So which are those means here? Some examples he has given. How the work benefit is assessed. What are the procedures followed in risk assessment? And what are the short term and long term effects of drinking water which is polluted? How announced the test on materials? So like this, some of the examples for the descriptive inquiry. So this question. What are the different types of inquiry? Inquiry means what, and what are the different types of inquiry? So we'll move towards the next question, that is explain ethical theories and compare the senses. So there comes two different theories, Kohlberg theory and Gilligan's theory. So Kohlberg theory, moral development for the human being occurs due to the exposure and experience. That is, Kohlberg suggested that there are three different levels of moral development. They are pre-conventional level, conventional level, and post-conventional level. So, in the pre-conventional level, in this level, the status of an individual is regarded as the most benefit. Whereas in the conventional level, in this, moral behavior of individual is determined by the standards of his family, community, society. Individuals are motivated by the desire to approved by the others. This comes under conventional level. And last one is post-conventional level. In this, the people are called autonomous. So these are the three different levels of Kohlberg's theory. Second comes Gilligan's theory. So Gilligan's theory found that the theory suggests that strong base the Gilligan's theory is having, and according to this, man has a tendency to solve the problems by applying moral principles. Gilligan's also raised three different levels, say pre-conventional, conventional and post-conventional. Pre-conventional, which is same as that of Kohlberg's moral development theory, and in conventional level, in this the importance is not hurting the others and willing to one's interest and help the others. And the post conventional level highlights in this the balance is maintained between caring the others and meeting their interest and not hurting them. That is what post-conventional level of Gilligan's theory, will say. So, two ethical theories are there, Kohlberg's theory and Gilligan's theory. So, you are explaining the different levels, three different levels of both the theories. So, we'll move towards next question. Define corporate responsibility, social responsibility, and explain the types. So we'll see this here, corporate or social responsibility. What it includes means here, always we should think of the well-being of the employees, their unions, and socially responsible investors, customers, dealers, suppliers, local communities, governments, non-government organizations, business owners, and the managers. Apart from this, showing concern with the employee relations and other internal organizational matters the organization is concerned with. So, this is what social responsibility will say. How the product or project, some examples here we are saying how the product or project is marketed, used or misused, how it fails, how it is disposed, how it is discarded, the way in which the used battery cells and computers are discarded have been debated in the engineers forum. Protecting the work environment during the manufacture as well as the external environment during transport or during its use, or training the disadvantaged or physically challenged workers, subcontracting and hiring the practices, and contribution to local communities to enrich their culture, social and civic life, may be even compensatory against the harm to environment, that is by planting the trees and all. Contribution is very important. These are the social or corporate responsibility we are saying. Or even you may get the question like this. Distinguish between corporate responsibility and corporate accountability. Corporate responsibility means the voluntary compliance of the particular organization. The particular organization will have its own rules and regulation, bylaws, and are assigned responsibility through the policies, manuals, and the flow chart. Whereas corporate accountability means holding all the corporate organizations accountable to the public, employees, customers, and stakeholders as empowered by the rules and laws. So this is the difference between corporate responsibility and corporate accountability. Next is, that is, why do people behave unethically? So why the people behave or the behavior of people changes to in unethical way? So here, because of some moral issues this happens. So which are those? We'll see one by one. So before that, one more question comes, that is senses of engineering ethics. Explain two different senses of engineering ethics. They are the normative and descriptive senses. So normative sense includes finding the moral values which is accurate, finding the solutions regarding the moral problems, and justifying the judgments in engineering practice, studying the decision policies and values which are normally desirable in our practice, using codes, standards of ethics and applying them in their transactions by the engineers. This is normative sense it includes. Descriptive sense means it refers what specific individual or group of engineers believes and act without justifying their beliefs or actions. This is what descriptive sense. So these are the two different senses of engineering ethics. We are coming to the why do people behave unethically? 10 marks question, important question. So this time you may get this one. There are three different reasons. Three reasons are there because of people behave in an ethical way. So which are those three reasons? Means first one, resource crunch. Second is opportunity. Third is attitude. Resource crunch. Resource crunch means due to the pressure from the political leaders. So during construction works, sometimes we'll get the pressures from the our leaders. Then because of time limits of budgets, technology decay, pressure from the government to complete the work, complete the project within the time or before the time given to you. Due to the elections, due to the visit of inspection persons, due to the reduction in the budget, due to the war or due to the natural calamity or unethical completion of projects. So this all comes under resource crunch, allowing everyone to involve in the development of values and which will prevent the unethical results. Because of resource crunch, the persons or the people will start behave in unethical manner. Second point, opportunity. Double standards or behavior of the employers towards the employees and to the public. Then, because of the opportunity, projecting their own interest by the employer more than of employees. Projecting our interest, we are only stressing our interest, we are not considering the interest of the employees. Third point, giving more important to the results or gains at the expense of the employers. Fourth point, management by objectives without focusing empowerment and improving the infrastructure. So these above problems can be solved through effective leadership, and one can work confidentially with the people and building coordination with the employees and following everyone to involve in their work and motivating through the appreciation. Due to this, one can solve or one can prevent the behavior of persons in a wrong way. Third point, attitude. Poor attitude of the employees due to low moral of employees, then lack of promotion because of lack of career development policies, lack of transparencies, lack of recognitions and no reward system, and absence of grievance, a redressal mechanism and poor working environment. So even these all causes the persons. So these are the three points due to which the persons are why do people behave unethically? Resource crunch, because of opportunity and because of attitude. Next is enquiry. Already we have gone through normative, conceptual and descriptive enquiry. Next question, eighth one, that is what are the characteristics of professional, or state the characteristics of professional. So characteristics of profession are distinct from professional occupations which are listed in 5 different ways. Here they are extensive training. So entering into the profession first requires an extensive period of training because of the theoretical knowledge obtained through the formula or formal educations in an academic institution is not sufficient. Example, for you only civil students and architecture students, what you are learning theory in the classroom is not just sufficient. So after your completion, you need to go for technical training, field visit. You must work under any contractor or work under any architect. That is extensive training, field training is required. The same theory how it is adopted in the field, that knowledge is must and should for us. Extensive training. Second is knowledge and skills which are necessary for the well-being of the society. Knowledge of doctors protects, example here, knowledge of doctors protect us from the disease. The knowledge of the engineer is restores required for the safety of the aeroplane, for the technological advances and for the national defense, etc. Knowledge and skill is very important here. So, doctor can kill a patient. One patient can be, means a doctor can kill one patient at a time. Whereas you people, engineers, because of your, if you are not having proper knowledge and skills, so many deaths will happen because of if you are not having the skills and knowledge. That is example, if the civil engineer is going to build the dams or bridges, if it is in a proper way it is okay, if it is not then the deaths, so several deaths will be happened because of the improper knowledge here. Then third one, monopoly. Monopoly means the profession tells us the community that only those who have graduated from the professional schools should be allowed to hold the professional title. Profession also tells the community to have licensing system for those who want order the profession. Practically, without license, they are liable to pay the penalties. Means this is very good idea, that is monopoly. Compulsory education according to your degrees, your education system, you are going to have the license. Then third one, autonomy in workplace. Professionals are empowered with certain to establish their autonomy. According to doctors must determine the most appropriate medical treatment for their patients, and lawyers must decide on most successful defense for their clients. Autonomy in workplace. Next is ethical standards. So, ethical standards, the professional societies given the codes and conducts that we have to regulate, we have to follow during professional, if against their misconduct or any unethical decisions and actions affecting the individuals or the groups or the society. So compulsory we have to follow the bylaws, codes of conduct during our work, during our profession. So these are the 5 important characteristics of professional, like extensive training required, knowledge and skill is very important, monopoly, that is on the basis of education we should have the titles, and autonomy in workplace, that is, and last one is ethical standards. So these are the 5 points comes under characteristics of professional. And last question, ninth one, differentiate between self-respect or respect and self-esteem. So self-respect means it's a moral concept, whereas self-esteem is a psychological concept. Valuing oneself in morally in suitable ways comes under self-respect. We can value ourselves, how morally we are having the suitable ways. Whereas having a positive attitudes and oneself, it may be excessive or unwanted or normal, we'll say. Whereas third point, self-respect includes virtues of recognition and appreciation, whereas self-esteem concentrates only on the abilities and skills of the individual having. Fourth point, it promotes virtues of sense of honor and self-control and courage. Comes under self-respect. Whereas self-esteem is an appreciation that an individual has himself. So this is the 4 points we are giving here, explaining here. That is the difference between the self-respect and self-esteem. So these are the 9 important questions comes under this unit. Please go through the notes. Be prepared for the forthcoming exams. As per your wish, already we have gone through first unit, human values, which has 30 marks. Then sixth unit, Indian Constitution, has 40 marks, and today we have completed the second unit, Engineering Ethics, which has 25 marks. So till today totally we have revised 95 marks of PIC subject. Hope everyone is following the previous videos. With this, we'll end the video session. Thank you one and all.